Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today we are going to jump into the time machine and travel back 5 whole years to the year 2018. As we look at this, from Mattel, we have Batman from the Batman Missions line, and they were celebrating 80 years of Batman from 1928 to 20... I'm so bad. To 2018. So this was 80 years of Batman, and I think this was Mattel's last foray into like DC superheroes before they lost the license to Spin Master. The Batman Missions line was kind of an interesting line of action figures. It didn't line up with Mattel's previous outings like the DC Classics or the DC Multiverse action figures. It was a different form factor with less articulation than the popular Classics line. And the whole line was aimed more so specifically at just like Batman. It was like a completely Batman dedicated line. I remember when I saw these at Target, there was something about the package design that just felt very generic. You know, even though the action figures I think are really well done, the package design didn't really scream anything special. It's almost kind of like Mattel knew this was like their last hurrah and just wanted to get the figures out there. On the back, you didn't even get like a checklist of figures. It just gave you this comic book inspired illustration, you know, not a laughing ride. So it was kind of weird. It was clearly aimed more so at kids than serious collectors, but at the same time, this felt somewhat a little bit disappointing that, you know, this was their last run on the DC characters. But the figures are really fantastic. Some of the figures are harder to find and go for a lot on the secondary market, like the Bane. But this one here, we're just looking at plain old Batman. You know, this is a very stock design, a very New 52 inspired Batman costume, or even, I think, a little bit maybe closer to Rebirth. But let's get started and take them out. Alright, so we have Batman from the Batman Missions line put out by Mattel. It's a nice looking figure. It's kind of reminiscent of Mattel's budget figures that they produced during like some of the live action films like Justice League and Batman vs. Superman. The play accessory included is a shield, which is kind of an interesting choice considering, you know, I don't think Batman used a shield very often in the comic books, if ever. But it's cool. He just mounted onto his arm like that, and he can pretend he's, you know, cosplaying as Captain America or something. The design is nice. You know, nice shade of gold contrasted against the black. The figure itself is a nice piece. It seems like it's somewhat smaller than the Classics line. It's a 6-inch scale action figure, but on the smaller end of the 6-inch scale. For a size comparison, here he is next to a Marvel Legends. We have Vulcan. And the Marvel Legends is a 6-inch scale action figure line. And as you can see, this one's pretty small. Here he is next to the Justice League Tactical Armor Batman, also put out by Mattel some years previously. And I think they're kind of within the same family, you know, the budget line. And then here is the Mattel DC Movie Masters Dark Knight, the Christian Bale Batman. And it's slightly taller. This is closer to scale with like a Marvel Legends, but I think a little bit shorter. So the Batman Missions line, it was very short-lived. But, you know, they had a solid core cast of characters. You know, they had all the heavy hitters like the Joker, Riddler, Mr. Freeze, Bane, Robin. It was very focused on, you know, like play accessories and vehicles. But this is definitely a budget line. The sculpting is pretty decent. The paint job's a little sloppy on the face right there. But it's nice nonetheless. The articulation, his head moves, arms move, they go outward. Elbow bend, elbow swivel, articulated wrists. He swivels at the waist, legs kick up, they bend at the knees, and it's a tight bend, but they do bend. And overall, it's a solid figure, clearly aimed at kids, but I think if you were a casual collector or just a fan of Batman memorabilia, it was a nice option because at the time these figures were very affordable. On the secondary market, like I mentioned, some of these figures do command high prices, especially the villain characters. I bought a Mr. Freeze maybe like 6 months ago, and I ended up paying like $30 for that. Which, it's a little bit overpriced, but it was a really beautiful figure, and it's somewhere in my YouTube channel, so check that out. But overall, I think the Batman mission stuff is nice. It's kind of like Mattel's farewell song to, like, you know, having the property since like the early 2000s. And if I could find more of these mission figures at an affordable price, I might start a small collection. I only have a couple of these. The reason why I avoided them at the time is just because they were kind of... I'm not necessarily a scale guy, but they're just kind of out of scale with the classics figures. And at the time, I didn't feel like I wanted to start a new Batman collection. But lately, I've just been very nostalgic for older style Batman toys. Like the McFarlane stuff is nice, but they feel like they're much more collectibles than they are toys. You know, right now I'm just kind of in the mood to collect Batman action figures that feel like, you know, something a child would play with. I like the limited articulation. I love the much more cartoon-friendly designs. So this is something I'm probably going to dabble in a little bit. So, all right, with that being said, let's wrap this one up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. All right, later.